So, hey guys, welcome to the Messy Drawer episode 2. If you've made it this far, well done, because I've barely made it this far. And so, what is in the Messy Drawer today?
Well, today I wanted to ask a question, pose a question to everybody. I saw it recently about discussing arranged marriages and things like that. So I wanted to ask mainly Arifa and Gunchan and obviously Sharon, because we all come from backgrounds where arranged marriages are still practiced. What my understanding of arranged marriage is very different to what modern day arranged marriage seems to be. For me, I understood arranged marriage as two families arrange for their children to get married, and that was it. Whether they meet on their wedding night or they see photos of each other, but that was my understanding of arranged marriage. However,
like they don't have a choice.
Exactly. What I've been seeing now in our modern society, Western society, that is more of a matchmaking than arranged marriage. And the question I had was, is that ignorant of me to say it's not arranged marriage, or when I think of an arranged marriage is
in a traditional way?
Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, don't speak at once, you guys.
I don't know what to say. I feel like I've got my good points out, and now I'm struggling to get any more good points. Okay, so
that's
why we should have recorded our conversation earlier. This is what I have to say to come off of what you were saying, Najma. It's not. I don't think that it's ignorant for you to say that this is what you think arranged marriage is. But I think it would be ignorant of you to not understand. For you to not understand that the word now has become quite flexible and fluid. It no longer just represents a really conservative sort of idea of.
That's where my argument comes in that I had with Arifa earlier. Should we not change the term and stop calling arranged marriage and call it, or maybe parental matchmaking?
No, because why should we change it for anyone? We call it in Asian society. No, I can't speak for you guys. It's called arranged marriage.
It's not.
But that's not the question. The question is the language seems a bit wrong for what is happening right now.
It doesn't.
To you guys.
Oh God.
For everybody.
To you guys.
Whether you come from a Western white background, like traditionally, as Sharon said earlier, royal families would arrange their children to marry each other. Me, as I said, in Somali cultures, we still have arranged marriages, although some people kind of have that kind of matchmaking, but we have the arranged marriage in its purest form. Two families agree to marry their...
So pretty much everyone that I know, when we say arranged marriage, it means you tell your parents, okay, I'm at this age now, I'm ready to get married, and they arrange for you candidate brides / grooms, all this sort of stuff. They arrange for you guys to meet. They arrange everything, not just like they arrange everything. And that's where the word arranged marriage comes from, which is why to us, or to me anyway, arranged marriage makes sense to call it that. I do get what you're saying in terms of it is different. It has moved to another place of matchmaking, but the arranged marriage doesn't just mean that you're arranging for the marriage, for the actual wedding day. You're arranging everything else in between, which is why it's called arranged marriage.
This is why I have a question. In that sense of arranged marriage, now young Asian people have a say in if they want to marry this person or not, correct?
Yeah.
Therefore, it's not an
arranged marriage. The person being married has no say in it. The families agree to it. By you having a say in it, it is a what was I saying earlier? It is a matchmaking.
It's like a matchmaking. It's no longer.
That's why I literally just said arranged marriage isn't just arranging the husband. You're arranging everything that goes into a marriage.
But technically, Arifa, you are arranging the marriage. The goal is to set your kids up for the marriage.
Yes, and they're arranging you the candidates. They're arranging you the meeting spaces.
But if you have a say in it, I don't think you understand what Najma is saying.
We make something that is broader for everybody rather than just we understand it the way it is. If you don't get it, you're ignorant. End of.
Well, why should one culture change the way it words things so that another culture can relate to it?
Because at the end of the day, it's an English word.
And
Linguistically, it does no longer make sense.
It might linguistically be an English phrase, but it is coined.
Gross. Okay.
When
Does it
I
make
use-
sense?
How I use the phrase arranged marriage doesn't have to change because of how you use it.
Okay, Gross, listen.
Difference to me, but I don't understand why I should have to differentiate my language so that it's more adjustable to any other culture.
Because it's confusing, and then once we confuse it, then that's when people start calling people
But
ignorant.
isn't that the whole point? Like, it's okay for different cultures to have different views and different opinions of what linguistically.
But then, is it okay to turn around and call people ignorant? Then is it okay?
when
to
you
turn
get
around and call
arranged,
people ignorant?
when you get arranged and forced
I
confused,
never said anybody was ignorant at all.
Arrange is
No,
always
I'm directing it to Arifa.
you're getting offended by the word ignorant. It's not like a purpose.
Why wouldn't I get offended by the word ignorant?
You
Answer me
seem
that.
really offended.
No, but why wouldn't I be offended by someone calling me ignorant?
It is an offensive word.
Ignorance
It's an
isn't always a
offensive
bad
word.
thing. It just means
It's
you haven't
not?
understood something. No, it's not always a bad thing. People are ignorant about you're ignorant about something.
But what I'm
Always.
saying is, you
Until
can't,
you
you
learn.
can't call someone ignorant from understanding the word from
For what
their
it is.
for what it is and from their own background.
No, that arranged marriage is no longer like a forced situation anymore.
But that
Matchmaking.
depends,
Now become-
Rofa. Not everyone's experience is like that, though. Not
In-
everyone's experience is like that.
Between us four, is that I said between us four, like, do we not have an understanding that arranged marriage?
But there are still people.
No, I understand that, but I still also understand that it still happens in the traditional way for a lot of people out there.
And then
Lily.
in the Asian community, we would call that forced.
Yeah, we would say that was zabardasti, that was forced. That's right.
But that's the traditional way. So why
That's
is
arranged
it?
marriage.
Because that's what it's called. It's called forced.
Because it's a zabardasti marriage. It's a forced marriage. It's a.
But literally, that's what arranged marriage is. So you are giving it a different
That's
name.
your opinion.
But in my community right
How is it our
we've already
opinion when it's
made that
tradition?
That is what
Tradition.
tradition though. If I'm saying right, in every Asian person I know, forced marriage we see it as your husband or your parents make you marry this person, and arranged marriage when they set up suitors for you. And
But
then you
it's
think
tradition.
differently,
So, but if
that's your
we're speaking,
opinion.
Listen to this. This is what, according to the Oxford Dictionary, this is what arranged marriage is: a marriage planned and agreed by the families or guardians of a couple concerned. That's what I mean. It is not necessarily, might not be against will or whatever, but people were never given the chance to say yes or no in the first place. But what Asian people now have is the option to say yes or no, which makes it a matchmaking.
forced.
no, listen.
Yeah.
When I repeated it before and I said traditionally, that's how arranged marriage is. And then you was like, no, that's forced.
Yeah, because no, you.
But how is it
in this
forced if
case,
that's
I'm talking
traditional?
about right now. I'm talking about right now. I said in my community right now, it would be that when what you've just described to me, the against will part, the forced part, what you just described to me of what arranged marriage is to you.
But there are people
Understood.
outside of your community that
Now in my
Understood.
community, that would be a forced marriage. That's not.
what
That's
you are
not.
failing to understand. It's not just your community.
Pardon?
Go away.
What you are failing to understand, it's not just your community. Yes, within your community, you might have a word for force, you might have a word for marriage, but we live in a diverse society that we don't just deal with
one phrase that describes all of them.
But for me and for everyone else outside of your community, arranged marriage, two families agree, our children are going to get married, most of the time it's on their infants, and the children or the people in question have no say in it. I am certain majority of people would agree.
I think a majority of people, when they hear arranged marriage, they're not going to think of it of what it is today.
And that's why we have to educate people and say, well, this is what it is in this day and age.
Absolutely. But with Asian people, we've had a lot of Asian friends. As I said, I watched a TV show called Family Karma. When they talk about, they define arranged marriage, and it's on an international forum. They are somewhat educated than Asian people about the Asian cultures. And when they talk about arranged marriage their families had, they always say,
and a lot of people are traditionals and they stick to
on their
traditional
wedding.
ways.
There was what they say, my mom and dad didn't have arranged marriage, they dated. But what you guys are doing now is more of a dating that the family is aware of, kind of the family introduces you rather than arranges the marriage for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. I might be completely wrong, but for me,
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think it's wrong to look at it.
I don't understand what your point is. Are you saying the word should change? Are you saying it no longer means what it?
Yeah, because no, what she's saying, from what a lot of people understand it as, is not what it's no longer as.
what
That's
you
all
guys
she's
understand
saying.
and what majority of people understand it are not the same. So when people, if you told me, Gunjan, I'm having an arranged marriage, I would be like, oh my God, why? Rather than, well, now I know because I've learned now, but beforehand, you know things for facts for me, not facts for everyone, but for me, this is what arranged marriage is. This, I applaud the Asian community for doing what they're doing now and doing this, introducing the couple, them dating and them having a say in it. It is an incredible thing. However, that is what arranged marriage is. And I'm not saying arranged marriage is bad, even the one that's forced or whatever you call it. It works, it has worked for many, many people.
A lot of people.
But we just need to be aware of other people when we say arranged marriage is not what you guys understand it as, and not immediately attack us as ignorant people.
I never.
Okay, but when you're referring to the Asian community and the Asian and a majority of young, I know you met some people who think differently, but nearly every single Asian person I've met refers to arranged marriage the way that I've described. So when you're speaking to Asian people about arranged marriages, you have to take into consideration how they think about it. And now I know that that's how you think about arranged marriages. I would speak to you about arranged marriages in a way that you think of it. But if you're speaking to me about it, you have to speak about it in a way that I think about it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yes, accommodating each other's understanding, 100%. Okay, well, that was eventful.
So we come to an understanding.
Yeah. Anyways, what another thing I wanted us to discuss was the leads perfectly into the next topic what we just discussed. The pressures of having to get married at such a young age. Like Sharon and I know it too well. African moms would say, "When am I having a grandchild?"
Well, not personally though. It's not my personal experience.
My mom would be mortified if I said I was pregnant, but it is very common for a lot
it's
of
very African, yeah.
And in Asian communities, I understand young girls get married early on. So what would you like from your personal experience, from a community personal experience, what do you think of the pressures women go through and men actually don't necessarily?
My family is pretty, I don't need this word because I hate it, but modern in terms of they don't want me to get married until I've finished my university. I've worked for a couple of years, so I've built my savings and I can stand on my own 2 feet. Then they want me to consider marriage. I don't have any pressure or time limit on me to get married, but I do.
Even if you were 30.
What if you're 30?
Even if you're 30.
They wouldn't pressure me. They might be like, but they wouldn't be like, you need to get married.
Gross.
I think in my community it's still very different because we migrated.
Can you say it a little bit louder, Groves?
Oh, sorry. In my community it's quite different because we migrated to England in the late 90s, very late 90s / early 2000s. So in the process of Western evolution, we're probably still a little bit far behind in the way we think when it comes to marriage, the way we
Sorry,
think.
are you speaking on your family? Just your family?
No, I'm speaking on as an Afghan Sikh.
Okay.
I find that we're a little bit behind on the evolutionary process because we migrated later to England. So we adopted later to these Western ways of thinking. So to us, marriage is still something that's very, very important. And also it's something that people start thinking about as early as 22, 23. And by the time they hit 26, 27, they feel like, you know, the last
20 what? 27.
Like 26, 27, they're like, oh shit, I'm about to fucking expire. So that's literally how I think people still think in my community.
I mean, I understand that, right? Although my immediate family, when I got engaged, they thought I was too young. In my immediate family, like for me, for the generation before me, it's never been any form of pressure to get married at all.
How old were you when you got engaged again?
22. Yeah.
You know, that's
23, early 23.
You got engaged at 22.
Yeah, so in my immediate family, the women tend to get married later. They all go to university, which is not very common in the Somali community. And I'm sorry if I offend someone whose family has done that, but the women in my immediate family have always been quite strong-willed and things like that. But the extended family, they are on it. And when I went to Somalia, before I got engaged about 2 years ago, and the children who were younger than me, there was a young girl she's about 2 years younger than me. Now she's a mother of 4. And there was a cousin of mine who's like a lot younger than me, is now divorced. And it was just a lot of thing going on. And they would ask me like, Najma, what's going on? The friends, the extended family, like, oh my goodness, you should get married. Look at the girls who are younger than you. Look at them, they have children. I felt not necessarily pressure, but I understood, like, very much became aware of what the reality was for a lot of young Somali girls, especially in that community I belong to.
So does Somalia have an expire age?
Yes, actually.
What is it?
About 40.
Not 27. 4 is reasonable.
And I want to say this, I don't want to like assume this for all Somali people, but although we are community as a nation as a Somali, our communities are very different. We have different languages, different cultures, different everything. So I do not want to speak for all Somalis out there, but from the community I come from and the area I come from, I was made aware of just how real this was for young girls.
Huh?
Like being there around people who are like mothers of 4 at 22, 23, like, does it make you self-conscious and make you feel like the odd one out?
No, I thought they were crazy.
I agree.
No, they were like,
I think that's the same for me as well.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't really know. I think in general, Black people have grown away from that, pressurizing people to get married. Because as far as I'm concerned, Black women don't tend to get married early on. They get their career first, they get themselves together, and then that's when they start looking for a family. And a lot of families encourage that, especially for Black women.
Yeah.
To have your things together before you go and get with someone. And I think that's why I don't have that pressure. And I think that's why I don't value marriage the way I would say used to do or used to do. Like, it's not something I
aspired to do.
I don't want to say that. It's not something that is
a priority.
It's not like top 5. I don't even think it's top 10.
I agree with you. I say to Matt, like, I would happily not get married for the rest of my life.
So it's not a life that I think I'll be missing out on if I get married or don't get married. No, that does not translate into I want to be single for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? Put a lot of pressure on themselves, and then you end up settling, or you end up rushing things that don't need to be rushed.
Marriage is not a life goal to achieve.
It's not.
It's really not.
No, it's not. And I think there's a separate point, so I don't know if people want to edit this out, but I feel like marriage is used to manipulate a lot of girls. I can't speak for other communities. I'm speaking on the Muslim community. But so many cases I've seen where, you know, a girl gets in a relationship with a boy and then he gets her a promise ring to say they're going to get married, then they have sex, and then she feels that she has to be with this man for the rest of her life. Even though he's not a really good husband material, even though he's not a nice person, she's now in that emotional bind that she has to marry this person because she lost her virginity to him. And that's how I feel like a lot of marriages are happening. I can't speak for a lot of people, but I know several young girls that are younger than me, and I'm 24, that are getting married to their boyfriends, and I feel like it's that case. They've lost their virginity, and now they're in a bind where they have to get married.
When it comes to religion, it's a bit tricky.
Yeah,
because a lot of people obviously, like, religion means some, like, people live by that shit to the T.
I don't. And you guys live in London and bigger cities than where I live in, but I live in a pretty small place, and I think one thing that's turned me away from marriage is in this small town, young, old people are in long-term relationships or married, and they're not even happy. They just do it because it's convenient. And I think a lot of people don't understand that they view marriage as a convenience. They don't have to feel lonely again. They don't have to be by themselves. That was all of our takes on arranged marriages, the pressures of being married, and I think I have to say that I love the fact we have contrasting views, and the fact that we're still friends despite it.
We're not going to not be friends.
Well, you don't know. Some people take certain issues to heart. They really do. And if you don't agree with them or say things their way, it's lock off because, yeah.
We are not yes men.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, we're our own people.
Yeah, that was great. And that
It was.
conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Okay, it was.
But yeah, guys, till next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay messy.
Bye.